Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Risa Eldon, and I have Lexi Westergard here with us. And we're very excited to chat a little bit about goal setting today. And before we get started, I wanted to introduce myself, introduce Ivy, introduce Lexi, and then we'll jump right in, and Lexi will dish some really fun secrets with us. So my name is Risa Eldon. I used to manage an interior design firm in San Francisco. So I've struggled with all of the things that you've struggled with, whether it's managing the business side of things, managing employees, managing purchasing, and all of that craziness. And that's how I actually came to find Ivy, which is a community and business management tool, which helps alleviate stress and helps streamline your overall processes, putting everything in one place, creating beautiful proposals and tear sheets and project schedules, allowing you to collect payments online, and really make your life a little bit easier so that you have more time to design. And that's the point of why you got into this business, right? So thank you again for joining us. We will share a little bit more about Ivy at the end of our session. And a little bit about Lexi, who joins us from Phoenix, Arizona. Lexi is a Phoenix-based interior designer whose work has been featured in HGTV, Style Me Pretty. She has recently been dubbed one of the Valley's top designers and is known for her use of modern and traditional pieces that create a polished yet approachable space. Her bright, clean, and fresh aesthetic have quickly become one of the most sought after and recognizable brands in the Phoenix metro area. So thank you, Lexi, for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, of course. And the crux of what we really want to talk about today is setting goals for 2019, reevaluating your business. What did you learn from 2018? What could you do better? Review what worked, what didn't work, and identify key areas for improvement. Today, we will talk about all sorts of things, but the main things that I want to make sure that we cover, and I hope you guys all agree, are setting achievable goals for 2019, utilizing social media to find your target client, creating your design tribe, and developing a healthy work-life balance. And yes, it's possible to work a 3-day work week. And Lexi's going to tell us how. I don't know how that's possible, but Lexi's going to tell us how. So let's get started, Lexi, and let's dive right into understanding your story and how you got started with your design firm.
Yeah, so I grew up with a mom that always was very much into design. So I think that played a huge part of me wanting to get into the field. And after I graduated high school, I went to design school, and I worked in the field for a couple years, and then I kind of got out of the field for a little bit. And once I had my daughter, I wanted to stay home with her. And so I did that for a couple years. And then that's kind of when like Instagram started getting popular, and I would see like design. I started following designers on Instagram, and I thought, I need to start getting back into this. I wanted a creative outlet. And so that's kind of when I started my business. And I kind of started off just doing like friends' houses just to try to kind of build a portfolio. And through that friend, one of my friends she referred me to one of her her patients at the time that needed their whole house designed, and kind of lucked out at like a big scale project that I was able to photograph and get professional photos and create a website based on that project. And just through there and word of mouth and Instagram kind of grew from there.
Awesome. How long ago was that? 3 years ago?
It was 2015. So it was literally, my first big project was like 5 weeks after I had my son. So yeah, I kept pushing it off and was like, okay, when am I going to get this big of a project? I feel like it's hard to get your first big client without having a portfolio or a website or anything to kind of showcase your work. And so I was like, I have to do it. And so, yeah, it was a little crazy, but.
So you toted the baby around with you to the construction site.
Yes. Very professional back then.
Whatever works,
Yes.
And what were you using before you used Ivy? How have you really been able to leverage technology to allow to make more time for design? Because obviously, if you were just getting started and everything happened really fast, you know, that's a lot to think about. It's not like you had the time to really set up your business structures and then set up this project. It was like everything happened all at once for you.
Yeah, so I kind of did like a QuickBooks, like Excel spreadsheet at first for like invoicing and things like that. And then I quickly got Studio Webware was another company I used, and I used them for about maybe a year because I feel like I started Ivy about 2 years ago. Kind of
right when I started.
So yeah, so Studio Webware was it was okay, but Ivy was a lot more user friendly, and so and created a lot more easier, prettier proposals and invoices. So yeah.
And it was easy to get up and running, easy to get started. Now that's one of the puzzle. What about, you know, determining pricing and markup and purchase fee and all of these kinds of things? How did you really hone in and figure out that piece of your business to where it made sense and where you were actually making money and creating this profitable business model?
Yeah, so luckily in school we talked a lot about pricing and like what kind of was, you know, our market. And so based on that, and then talking to other designers kind of helped me create my fee and kind of how I structure my business. So I do work on an hourly basis, but then I also do get markup. So whatever I buy costs, whatever my discount is, I do split with my client as well.
Okay.
So when I first started, I just did an hourly fee, and then I didn't share any of the markup with clients. But as I've grown and I've gotten more wholesale accounts, before I kind of was doing more like retail, like, you know, the companies that gave designer discounts, but they were like not much.
20%.
I would keep all that, yeah, like 20%. And so I, have slowly kind of grown it to where I split my markup with my client. My hourly fee is higher, obviously, as you get more established and more knowledgeable in the field, you can have that hourly fee go up. But I think a good, and I have the flu, so just so you guys know, if I'm kind of a little loopy, it's because I have some medicine in me. So anyway, so I think a good way to figure out your hourly fee is to talk to designers that are also in your field, or in your area, and kind of see what they're at and their level, and then you can kind of base your fee based on that as well.
Yeah. And that's totally what we believe in at Ivy, community over competition, really building out your design tribe. That's why I say that we're not just a business management tool, but also a community. So it's really helpful. And I recently did a meetup, I think it was in Orange County in the summer. And it was so interesting because people in the same area were charging from $150 to $375 an hour, right? Crazy how big of a jump. And I think some of that comes with experience. Some of it comes with confidence to charge a certain rate. And I see so many designers undervaluing themselves. And sometimes, you know, you just want to get the job. You want to get the portfolio pictures. In the beginning, I think that's okay. And you might take on clients that you don't necessarily want in the beginning, but then you can hone in after a year of business, after year 2 of business, and reevaluate and rethink about what you're doing, how you structured your business, and how you can get to that 40% gross profit margin, because essentially that's where you want to be making money, to start outsourcing things that are taking design time away from you and your clients. I know you have so many projects going on right now, and you need to focus on the high level stuff. You don't have time for all of the nitty gritty stuff. So do you, in terms of like splitting your discount with clients, how did you come to that as what worked for you and where you were making money? Obviously, you're transparent about it because you share the pricing with your clients. Do you feel like you'll stick with that model, or you'll maybe move away from that and absorb that as your cost in the future?
I think I will. I think just from like listening to other podcasts and what other designers do, I think what it will just be is that my hourly fee will go up. So yeah, because I think a lot of times, you definitely don't have to split that with them, but I think it's just a nice little bonus and a win-win kind of situation.
Totally. And a question just came in, and I think this is a great question. As you moved away from retail into wholesale, again, a big learning curve going from year one to year two. Yeah. What are your top wholesale resources, and do you use a receiving warehouse?
Yes, I use a receiving warehouse, and I swear by that because I feel like if you're sending it to your house or your office or whatever, you're taking your time to do that, where you can pay someone else to do that, and it would probably be actually less expensive than having charged your hours of like receiving it, checking it, and doing all of that. And it's just hard to find the space, you know. I know some people that use like a storage unit, but I feel like then you're having to take the time to take it from your office to the storage unit, where the receiving warehouse kind of just holds it all for you. Yeah. And I do obviously charge the client that fee. I don't mark it up or anything. It's just whatever it is, that's what they charge. And then for my top wholesale accounts, I'd say Four Hands is one of our favorites.
Okay.
We like Arteriors, Visual Comfort. Trying to think. Noir, I like, but we've had a lot of issues with like their things coming in damaged, and the quality is not as good for what the price point is, but really cool pieces. And I'm trying to think what else are kind of our top ones.
And this is a good point that we bring up, because we're both going to be actually at Vegas next weekend. Ivy will have a panel talking about really fun business, creating your business model, bringing in a very fun collection of people. And then Lexi's also speaking on Best of the West on Monday. So Sunday and Monday, both at 3:00 at Vegas Market. And that's a good time. I think Vegas is like a very good first timer market to go to. And even for those that have been to market and never been to Vegas, accessories, all of the brands that you just mentioned show there. And building that relationship with your vendor, you in person, getting FaceTime is key. Especially like you said, if you're having damages and you're having issues, you're like, you can have that honest conversation with your vendor and build that vendor relationship and say, like, you need to give me a deeper discount. I'm queen of negotiating. So, because I can't order from you anymore. It's not realistic. It's not working out. And I think with that said, in terms of the receiving warehouse, we did a really interesting webinar with Scott, actually from Right Way Receiving. So I'm happy to share that webinar that talks about the benefits of how to have those tough conversations with your clients about how to charge. But like Lexi said, 100%, this is something that you don't have the bandwidth for and that you need to charge your clients for. And you don't have the time to be unwrapping boxes and packages. It's just the reality of it. So in terms of like, and this is, I'm glad we're segueing into this question, because do you charge a separate project management fee? Let's say your design rate is $175 an hour. Then it comes to time for project management when you're doing your procurement. How can you estimate the hours? Like if your client wants an overall gauge of like how the project is going to cost. How do you do that when you don't understand necessarily like all of the things that the client wants from the get-go?
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of experience. Honestly, a lot of it is experience to kind of get that number. And then I think giving a range, because like you said, you don't really know exactly what, you know, sometimes scope changes, or they may require a little bit more hand holding versus another client that's like, yeah, we like all the first options, let's go with that. So I think just giving a good range. And then also we always try to overestimate what our estimate is. So it's like, okay, our estimate is 100 hours to 150 hours. It's like, okay, let's move it up to 130 to, 180 or whatever, because it always takes longer than expected, even longer than what we think it's going to take, just because it is so detail oriented, and it is so many little details and moving parts that you can't imagine, like, give an exact amount.
Yes. And even like clients texting you at like 5 a.m., 10 p.m. How do you set those boundaries with your client? Because if you tell them, it's going to take this amount of hours, you obviously want to try to remain within those hours, but you're clear with your client, like, hey, this is just an estimate. Like the project, you do a lot of design, build projects. I think somebody just asked a question actually that related to this. Are you willing to share the general total hours spent on a new build or remodel? I know it can vary greatly, but any general answer would help. I mean, it's a crazy question to ask. Like, now that you've been in business for 3-4 years, can you estimate like an overall build, or does it really depend on the client?
I think if it's just like hard surfaces and depending on the amount of bedrooms and like, okay, if we're sourcing everything, we can give like a general estimate, but obviously furniture would be a separate estimate just because that takes different. But I mean, for like, it's a lot of hours, like 300 to 500 hours, and that's just probably a smaller house. So it does take a lot of hours. And it does depend on how much they want you to be at the job site. If you're there like for every meeting, or if they can kind of go off your drawings, your elevations and have a few questions, then your time goes down a little bit. But also regarding the texting, I have in my contract that I do not take texts from clients because I think that's important to keep boundaries. I had where clients would text me at all hours, and I think the problem with the text message is people think that they're going to get an immediate response, where if I'm, if it's past 5 o'clock, I'm with my kids, my family, I'm doing things like that where I can't respond. But then if I see a text, I'm just thinking about it and I'm like, oh, shoot, I need to answer them. So now I only will respond to emails or phone calls, because that way then you kind of keep that boundary with your client, so they know like, hey, if I send an email, like you possibly could get back. We are back to them within 24 hours, and a lot of times less time. But I think that just helps keep that boundary.
So everybody, I hope you're listening. The biggest 2019 goal that we've talked about is setting boundaries with your client. Yeah. Create a clause in your contract that texting is not permitted. I like how you don't say, okay, you can text. It's just no text.
No text.
And then that creates that clear boundary. Yeah. And then it allows you to really have that time past 5 p.m. that you are a mom and you are with your family and you have a life. Because the thing about designers is you are creative and your brain starts ticking and you can't stop thinking about it. And it overtakes you being able to be a mom, right? Because that doesn't create a healthy work-life balance. So go into your contract today, create that clause. I will email everybody and remind you, but I think that's a number one goal for 2019 and makes so much sense and gives you a healthy kind of peace of mind to have that clear boundary.
Yeah, it was a game changer.
Yeah.
And I think not thinking about it at all hours, and definitely.
Yeah. And in terms of the contract, how did you decide what to include in your contract? Did you use a template, for example, from ASID or another source? Susanna asked that question, which I think is a great question.
Yeah, I think just from, like I said, again, in school, we kind of got like contracts and different things. So I think definitely having a template is useful of what you want it to kind of outline. And then I think you just kind of always will add to it as, you become more, what things work, what things don't. Like we just added that text clause last year, and then you kind of just learn, okay, I need to add something about this so that it's clear communication. Because I think that's the biggest key with working with clients is being transparent and like exactly how you work, and not having anything feel hidden or not secretive. But I think with the whole markup thing, I think that can kind of is a little bit of a sore subject sometimes. So I think just being upfront about how you work with that, even if it is that you keep the full amount, that you just lay that out and just explain, I have overhead costs and this is what helps run my business, and you wouldn't go to Pottery Barn and expect them to give you a discount, and so I think just being clear on that helps as well.
I think that's another really good point is, and a goal for 2019 is be transparent. Mm-hmm. And something that I wanted to add about the contract, I don't know if you know this, Lexi, but you have access as an IB member to actually access everybody's contract. So if you shared your contract, then you can see what everybody has in their contracts. And I think that's really helpful to see how other people line up their contracts. IB is all about sharing, access other documents. I think even creating like a client expectation sheet, like you said, and being transparent, sitting down with your client at that first meeting, signing the contract and be like, here's my 10 expectations of you and how I'm going to communicate with you. Here's how I do business. And just making that a really cool branded document makes the client feel like they know everything that's going on and makes them feel like they're in control. Yeah. When they're in control, they feel good about their project.
Yeah, and I think just laying out your process too, like in my contract, I lay out my process of how we do things. I think that where people get a little scared is the unknown. So I think it's the more you can kind of reassure them how your process goes, the way you work, I think that helps them feel more comfortable. Because a lot of people, this is their first time hiring a designer. So I think just outlining that helps as well.
Totally. And then I think we covered this, but just making sure we did. Do you have the same hourly rate for both your admin and your design tasks? Is it still set at that same rate?
No, so it's a sliding scale. So I have a junior designer, I have an admin, and then me, and it's all set. Obviously my fee's higher, and then junior designer is a little less, and then admin is the lowest.
Okay. And then, but in terms of like, say you were doing like at your rate, at the principal designer rate, the design, but then you were also on site doing an install, would it be that same rate?
Oh, yeah. So my rate is the same throughout. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Cool. Awesome. And then one last question from the audience, and keep your questions coming. They're really great. I'm flowing them into our questions to make sure we cover everything. And do you do any sort of e-design?
I don't. So when I started, I did e-design, and I think just with my business model, it's just, I prefer to see it kind of through. So with e-design, I never got pictures, and I think that's the fun part for me is seeing like it come to life. And I'm busy enough with like my full service clients that I just don't offer e-design anymore.
Okay, awesome. Great. So let's talk a little bit about, and we kind of covered this, but like really pivoting your business, just any sort of action steps that you can give us kind of lined out so that we can take this home as a resource. How has your business evolved over the past few years, and what actual steps have you taken to take your business to that next level of year 1, I was doing this, and year 3, now this is what I'm doing, and this is what what worked. I think we covered like 2 of those, but any other advice that you can offer on that topic would be awesome.
Yeah, so I think when I first started out, it was just me doing everything, and I think slowly, as I've gotten bigger, I've hired more people, and so I think that's been a huge moment and growing my business. So now I have like a junior designer, and then I have an admin that's kind of our ordering specialist that kind of handles all of our orders and tracking and all of that. And then I think just, what was your other question? I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. No,
No.
So growing your team, scaling as you grow, learning how to delegate tasks is a huge one.
Yes.
And realizing that you can't do it all. And I was just asking any other advice that you've done or you've been able to outsource within your business over the last 2 years that have helped you oversee, as you know, like you're the person running the company, you can't do everything. Anything that you've noticed over the last 2 years that you've changed in your business that have helped you make more money?
So hiring my first employee, that was like huge game changer. I didn't realize how busy I was until I hired someone else and realized, wow, there's enough work for 2 of us. Like I'm so busy. So that was a huge game changer for me. Hiring my first was obviously like a design assistant. And then now I have a junior designer that helps me as far as like all the floor plans go, elevations, and helps me source items and create like the overall design. But that was a big one because I realized because whatever I pay my employee, I mark up because really they say you're supposed to do it, times 3 or something, 2.5, 3.
Yeah.
So that has been big because I realized, and kind of back to like the 3-day work week, I have kids. And so I do work, I have set days where I have someone come watch my kids Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then Tuesday, Thursday, my employees work remotely. And so I'm able to get those tasks done that I need to get done for project deadlines without having to be the person to actually work on them. So that has been really helpful. And then
I love that, without having to be the person that actually has to work on them. That work can happen without you overseeing. So I think another one, that a takeaway and a goal would be being able to delegate tasks and find people that you can trust to get those tasks done, so that you don't need to be micromanaging or overseeing all of those little nitty-gritty details.
Totally. Well, and I think too, we get it's like your business, it's your baby. You want to do everything, but I think learning to outsource those things can be freeing. And like, also I'm realizing I'm not the best at everything. Like, so what I'm good at, I'm going to continue to do that. What I'm not good at, I'm going to delegate and outsource. And so, bookkeeping, CAD drawings and things like that. Like, I'm not good at that. I never learned that in school, so I actually don't even know how to do AutoCAD. But I want someone that does know how, so that we can present those to our clients and have those drawings that are, very professional looking and whatnot. And so I was going to say something else, but I can't remember. What was your other?
Hiring and scaling, that's actually the next topic that I really wanted to go into, because I think you've done a really good job of being able to delegate and like in a quick turnaround. How did you decide, and I think we talked about this on our call, of where you were like the most bottlenecked in terms of workflow? Like, what was slowing you down the most? And then it actually is funny because somebody asked a question that said, what was the first task or job that you were able to delegate? How did you find the time to train? So it kind of segues into my same question, where I think it's interesting because it's a very scary thing. But once you realize where you're bottlenecked, and then you are able to open up, train, how do you take the time to train and apply when you have 10 projects going on?
Yeah, so that is hard, because like we're at another point where I need to hire a design assistant, but then it's like finding the time to train. And so I think it's just finding people that are qualified is key. So obviously that's number one, is finding someone that has design experience, and the training isn't super high. And the thing I like about Ivy actually is that I would just be like, hey, watch these tutorials. This is how you do it. And then ask me if you have any questions. So that's been nice, because, and Ivy's so user-friendly, because, I mean, I feel like I learned it without even watching it. I mean, some things I did have to watch a tutorial, but like adding a client in, like, it was just so easy. So I think it's just, delegating those things. And then like I have a junior designer, so I'll probably have her train a lot of her, because then that way I'm using my time for my clients, and it just makes sense more financially instead of me spending my time training. So I think it's just kind of thinking like, okay, thinking time is like a currency almost. Like, what is the most important thing that you need to be focusing on in your business, and what can you delegate towards other people? And
Lexi, I like how you said that time is a currency. I'm going to do a write-up of all these important things that we're talking about, because, and it's, I think people think of hiring and they think of dollars going out instead of dollars coming. It's actually the opposite. When you hire somebody, it might take a little bit of legwork, but then you're actually making a margin on your employee, and you can actually really leverage that to your advantage and count that into the margin of you making money.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that it's just thinking of it that way that's helped me, like, oh, is it worth my time to be, this is a dumb example, but like, okay, we need lunch at this install. Is it worth our time to send someone to get it, or do we pay Uber Eats to come and do it? So I think just having more of that mindset has helped me keep my profitability and being able to delegate as well.
That makes sense. And that was kind of something else we talked about. Like, how you're billing out for your time and being strategic with the help that you have and making sure that they know what they're doing and that they're held accountable. The one interesting thing is, and this is a question from the audience, is employee benefits and payroll. That's where it gets a little bit scary to have somebody full-time. Yeah. How do you account for these costs? And like, are your assistants on full-time payroll?
So we actually are 1099. So I have my junior designer, she does do some other work for, like, she's full-time for me, but she does also have other people, so we're able to 1099 her. So I think that helps. But yeah, I think if we had to have like someone's salary or things like that, that gets a little scarier. But I think if you know they're hourly and hire, especially if you just want to hire someone part-time, and if you're like, hey, I can commit to these many hours and it could be more, because that could help as well.
And where did you, I know this is going to segue into our conversation and a little bit when we talk about social media, so I don't want to get too far into it, but I'm so curious, where did you find your employees? Was it off of Instagram or was it, okay.
Instagram.
Okay, that's what I thought. So we'll talk a little bit more about Instagram in a little bit, but you've been very lucky. I think some people live in areas where it's challenging to find good employees. I just saw somebody in the IBP group. They were looking for a business manager and they've already cycled through 2 people and they found them through LinkedIn and it didn't work out. So we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to Instagram and how people are reaching out to you. I think what's also interesting is when you're product sourcing and you have these design assistants, are you spending a majority of your time sourcing online? Are you spending your time going to markets? Like, how does it work when you have a 1099 employee? You're taking your assistants to Vegas market with you. I feel like I know there's a design center in Scottsdale, but it's not like a major design center like New York Design Center or San Francisco Design Center. Do you feel like your clients want to touch and feel products, or do you feel like you've been able to leverage and save time sourcing by sourcing everything online?
Yeah, so primarily we do source online, and I feel like that's a huge time saver versus having to go somewhere. And I feel like for the most part, our clients are pretty good about not having to touch and feel things. We will order samples if available so that they can at least see like finishes or fabrics and touch and feel that. The one thing though is sofas and chairs. They always want to sit in those. We've had a few clients that don't really care and they're like, yeah, that looks great, whatever. But we do have some that are like, I need to sit in it. It has to be comfortable. And so we are lucky that we have a couple to the trade only like companies here in Scottsdale that we can go and they can actually sit and yeah. And so like there's one company we do a lot of like custom pieces through, and they have what they call the Goldilocks chairs where like it's like medium depth, small depth, large, and extra large, so that they can sit and feel like, okay, this is what it would feel like, and then we can customize it based on arm and stuff like that. So that's been helpful as far as getting over that hurdle with clients. But other than that, yeah, we just mainly do it all online.
Okay, that's great. That's great. So let's jump into social media because I know this is a big one. I don't even know how many followers you have now, like 1 million. And I want to understand really how you've used Instagram to build your business. Somebody did ask a question to how do you market your business? So I'm going to go in and just dive right into Instagram to answer that question. But if there's anything else that you've used as a marketing vehicle post after we talk about Instagram, please let us know.
So I haven't advertised on House, but I have a profile on House, and I have gotten a couple business inquiries from there. I haven't for a long time, maybe like here and there, but so House was one, and then I think just having a website helps, just from searching, and then Instagram.
A branded website, a beautiful website.
Yeah, so that's one thing that we did last year that we really tried to do is we rebranded and we got a new website that I think just has helped us feel more professional and more our brand. So that has been a huge thing that has helped us. I think one of your questions was pivoting your business or things, actionable things you did. And that was one thing that was huge for us, I think.
And how did you find the time and the money and the space to mentally prepare for that project? Because it is a big project.
Yes, I think hiring the right person. So I found the company that did mine is the Identity Collective, and they mainly do interior designers. And so I think that finding like someone that has a niche market and literally looking at their website and being like, I love everything that they've done, that helps, because in the past, you know, I've looked at other people and I'm like, oh, I don't love that, I don't love this. And so I think it's just the key of finding someone that you love everything they do, so that you really can let them run with what they're good at versus micromanaging them. Because in the past, I've kind of done that where I'm like, oh no, it needs to be like this and that. And I'm not a web designer. I'm not good at that stuff. So I think that's
a good goal for 2019 is knowing what you're good at and knowing what you're not good at, and rebranding in a meaningful way. Don't just rebrand because you know you need a website, because I know an interior design firm on Ivy who didn't have a website for like 3 years of their business. I mean, they own their own warehouse, but they don't have a website.
Yeah.
So 2019, their goal was to get a website, and just for SEO purposes and just to really represent their portfolio images. They're very active on Instagram, but I think it's like, sometimes I hear designers saying, well, Instagram, I'm not getting anything from it. That really depends in your area and how you build your Instagram account. If that medium isn't working for you, focus on newsletters, focus on rebranding your website. There's so many different marketing avenues. It's hard to say, okay, these are all the ones that you work. Yes, have a house profile, have a Facebook page, have an Instagram account. But then once you have all of those built, focus on the one that really works for you. And fortunately, you know, Instagram has been very fruitful for you and great for you. And maybe it's because in the beginning you had the time to build that up in the way that you wanted it to look and feel, and you grew your following. But I think I've seen a couple questions about this. What particular advice could you give us, designers, anybody that's a small business owner, in terms of how you feel about Instagram and how it's really helped you take your business to that next level?
So Instagram, I feel like it's tricky because now the algorithm, I think, messes up everything. But I think it's just, I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Oh, just how you created your Instagram account and what you're seeing the return on investment for you in terms of, are you getting clients from it? Are you getting your employees from it? What are you getting new business from it? What are you getting from Instagram?
Yeah, so I think definitely it's helped build my brand and put my name out there, which I think is huge. And then I think also just I have got probably a majority of my clients through Instagram. But I think it's just a matter of being like true to yourself and not trying to be like everyone else as well. That kind of helps you set you apart.
Yep.
So,
and a good question that just came up was for designers just starting out with limited professional shots. How do you build up your Instagram feed? I'm having trouble knowing what to fill my feed with while I wait to build my portfolio. That's a great question, Taylor.
Yeah, that's so hard because I feel like that's how I was forever. So I think any kind of behind the scenes, I think too, people like beautiful photographed pictures, but I think also behind the scenes do well too. So if you're at a job site and you want to, it's like a rough shot of, you know, the cabinet's in, but not everything's done. I think the key is just editing them so that they're bright and clear. So, I mean, we've all done iPhone photos on there. You kind of have to sometimes, and it's fun to have a little bit more behind the scenes, and maybe even utilizing stories a lot for that too, which is good. So then people can kind of get to know you more, but then also it can be a little more raw, not so picture perfect as well.
I like that advice. Knowing what to post on your Instagram story versus your feed, and keeping your feed cohesive. And, you know, if you need to repost somebody else's work as an inspiration shot, I think that's okay, as long as you properly credit the photographer, the designer, as long as people know that that's not actually your work.
Yeah.
I'm sure, Lexi, that your work gets repurposed a lot. But I think that's one thing that I've seen designers do is make it very clear, make like a space at the bottom and say photography, designed by, so that your audience knows that that's not necessarily your work. And if you do have a small project, even if it's your own home, getting different shots and different of the vignettes that make one picture turn into like 10 different pictures that you can use as 10 different spots on your Instagram feed.
So yeah, and another thing too is like my photographer, when I first started, I would be like, I need more shots, because sometimes they'll just do like whole, but I'm like, I need vignettes, I need close-ups, or even just like taking a big shot and then zooming in so that it looks a little bit different of an angle of those professional photos, so that you can have them last a little longer as well.
Yep. And somebody asked, like, do you brand your Instagram stories? And I replied, because I was just typing a reply to her, like, yes, you do. It's all part of your brand. And a big part of pivoting your business was understanding your brand and who you were, and being consistent and cohesive in the way that you're talking to your Instagram followers. And with the algorithm change, as you said, like, you're not in control of everything on your Instagram feed. What you are in control of is the newsletters that you send out, the branded newsletters. You're in control of your website and what that looks like. So I also, I feel very passionate about this topic, think that you can use Instagram to build your email subscriber list. And I've seen you do it, is sign up for our newsletter. And that's a key thing that you own. If Instagram shut down tomorrow and you lost your followers, God forbid, that's a piece of your business that you would own. So focus on your own marketing vehicles.
Yeah, and that's so funny that you said that, because that's like my number one goal for 2019 is build my email list.
Good. I think people forget, because you go to so many networking events, Lexi, and you just, once you collect a business card, you can stick that in MailChimp, and you just have to ask permission to send somebody a newsletter. But that's a great goal for everybody, is build out your email subscriber list, is use the marketing vehicles that you already have to get people to sign up for your list.
Yeah. Definitely.
I think you had it lucky and you had it great, because so many people have seen your work on Instagram and then just message you on Instagram, hey, like, I want to be your client. Whereas for some designers, taking that extra step and creating the branded newsletters, if it's an email, somebody gets that email, and say you're in an area where there's so many different designers, somebody can forward that email on to their friend and say, hey, look at Lexi's work, you should hire her. Or it just triggers your memory in a different way, and it's saved in their email box, so they can easily forward that email on.
Yeah, definitely. Or if you have anything else that changes that you end up wanting to market towards something else, you have that list that. Sorry, I hope I'm making sense, because okay.
She's also going to do
at the worst possible time. Luckily, it's today, but I have I'm sweating, and anyway, I'm going to go to bed after this.
She's going to do a sponsored post for TheraFlu at the end of this session. No, you're doing great, and thanks for hanging in there. There's a lot of good question and good content that you're sharing. You already answered my question. Goal setting for 2019. How do you make goals and make sure you're accomplishing these goals? And what are your goals for 2019? What should our goals be for 2019?
Okay. So for goals, I feel like obviously the key, like writing them down. And I recently have gotten like this book from Rachel Hollis. It's her journaling, where you every day you just spend 5-10 minutes and you write down your goals for that day. And I think that helps just keeping your mind on your goals. And then also evaluating what worked and what didn't work in 2018. I think that's key too, because how are you going to know where you're going to go if you haven't know what you've done in the past? So that's been a big thing for me for goals. And one thing too, to just kind of help me keep me on my goals mindset and growing my business, is I always listen to podcasts. I know that's like maybe silly, but I listen to like the Goal Digger podcast or Rachel Hollis or like Well Designed Business. And I think that just helps you always keep in your mind like, oh yeah, that's a good idea of something I could do to better my business. Or like the email list, like that was from a podcast. They're like, you don't own your Instagram followers. You need to have email subscribers so that if Instagram shut down or whatnot, you have a way to get in contact with those people. And so that's why that's probably one of my top goals for this year is email lists. And then my other goals is to outsource more. So I feel like I'm pretty good at outsourcing, but just even in general, like in life, I feel like outsourcing is good. Anything that, whatever your hourly fee is, if you can pay someone less to do that, I think that that's really good to do. Like hiring a house cleaner, like I could be spending that time working on my business or spending it with my kids. Like I don't need to be cleaning my house. Obviously I still clean my house, but like a good deep clean. Yeah. And then outsourcing too, I'm hiring a bookkeeper. I know I should have hired one like 3 years ago. But my husband is an accountant, so he helps me, but it's just too much where I'm like, I need to hire someone to do that. So that's another goal of mine. And then I think just continuing to grow my business and getting my ideal clients. So we really are trying to focus on getting large scale projects. So that's kind of another goal for 2019 is just mainly working in like the full design, full new build, full remodel projects.
That's good because those are the projects that are the longest and that will take you through all of the phases that you like to do. Do you feel like, and I think this is I listened to a couple podcasts and I always ask designers, do you feel like you have a niche, I can never say that word, in your area that you honed in on? And also, like you said, being able to say no to a client and like say, sorry, like I need to make room for this, what I really want. But do you feel like you have a specific category or thing that you do that differentiates you to your competition?
I think so. I think Arizona, there's a lot of the larger firms in Scottsdale kind of have more of like the Southwest style or the even like kind of super modern. So I think that that's my style alone sets me apart from that. But then I do, like I said, try to work on larger scale projects. And I think that's a big thing and it's super powerful. I know when you first start out, you kind of just have to take whatever. But I've kind of learned too, like if I say no to this project, then I have more time to, fine tune my business or do things to help further my business versus take a project that you kind of you're not really passionate about. So I think that's kind of freeing in itself to do. And like I said, like at first, you kind of have to take what you can get, but I think if you can get to the point where you say no, because then what if you have a big client that comes up, you're like, oh, that would be a perfect project, but now you're stuck in a smaller one that you know what I mean? Like you just won't have time to do both. And so I think just prioritizing that as well.
That makes sense. Okay. And last goal for 2019, I've heard a lot of designers talk about this. Setting aside marketing dollars to be able to market your business or hire somebody to help you outsource. Maybe it's Instagram styling or maybe it's web design, whatever. How do you come up with that budget? And is that something that you set aside every month so that you can try? Even marketing dollars could be speaking on a panel and paying for the flights to that panel, whatever it is. How do you accomplish that?
So I'm not really great at that, to be honest.
A bookkeeper is going to force you to do that. So you're halfway to the goal.
Yes, definitely. But I do think it is important to set aside that amount. I feel like I'm starting to get to that point where I'm like, okay, I need to start doing newsletters. I need to start doing all these like branded things that I can't do that. I can't come up with some, you have to kind of outsource that. So I think that is important to kind of keep your business going, and maybe I will figure it out and I will get back to you and let you guys all know.
We're going to check in with you in 6 months and see how that's going.
Yes. I'm like, because I'm not the expert on that.
Okay, and as we're wrapping up, and I saw a couple questions about this, can you share some words of wisdom you wish somebody had shared with you when you first started your business? So if you had to look back and like maybe 3 things that you wish you had known when you first started your business.
Okay. So one thing I wish that I did reach out to like other people through Instagram, like other designers to kind of talk to me about business. But I wish I would have gotten like a design tribe locally sooner. So probably in the last year or 2, year or two, I have a group of a few designers that will get together on a monthly basis and talk business, what works, what doesn't. And I think that is the most valuable information that I've learned in my business, just because they know exactly what you're going through, and you could say, hey, I'm dealing with this with a client, or any kind of design advice too, like, hey, we have this weird corner, like, what would you guys suggest? I think that it's always good to get other people's opinion on that, anything that you're having trouble with. And that has been valuable for me. And I wish that I would have established that sooner, because I think it can kind of be a little intimidating wanting to reach out to someone, especially because the whole competition factor of being in the same state. But I think if you just realize, like, hey, there's enough designers, there's enough clients for everyone. Everyone's style is different. Everyone's personality is different. So even if your style is similar, a client may hire you, may not hire them, or vice versa, just based on your personality, if you click or not.
And what's interesting about that, and that's exactly building your community. We've done that virtually. So if you don't have time for a meeting, which I love that, you can always go to the IB Facebook group and share and ask any questions at any time. And then it's also cool because you get like so many different responses. You're like, oh, I never even thought about that. And it's designers helping designers. I feel like sometimes I've even seen designers be like, hey, there's a project that I got. It's in New York and I'm in Kansas. I can't take it on. Does anybody want to take on that work? Or, hey, I'm in Phoenix, you're in Phoenix, and I don't have the bandwidth to take this on, or it's not really my style. Maybe this is a good project for you to take on. And building that kind of sense of community, that sense of camaraderie, and knowing that you have each other's backs instead of being like, oh, there's this girl in my city that does that. Yeah. That reminds me of like the catty fashion industry. And it reminds me of interior design when I first started out. I didn't have that community. I was super isolated. So setting up your business and knowing, okay, I'm going to build like a community locally that I can have as my resources. I'm going to join the ID community, have that as a resource. Then you don't feel so alone and it doesn't feel so scary.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I feel like that's been really instrumental in helping build my business as well. And then I feel like too, you can get more of what like everyone's charging, how they, bill. And the Ivy is really good because I'll even go to the Facebook. Like when I was looking for a bookkeeper, I just went and I Googled bookkeeper and I read like a few other things and was like, oh, okay, I'm going to email these people. So I think it's just really instrumental in any business, but especially ours is, to help each other out, because we've all been at square one and, no matter where you're at, there's always someone ahead of you and behind you. And so I feel like just kind of coming together is really nice.
Yeah. And then the last question I want to ask you, and then we have a couple questions from the audience, and then we'll let you get back to being in bed and being sick. Thank you again for joining us this morning. Yeah. How do you feel that technology has changed your business for the better? If you didn't have a software like ID, if you didn't have Instagram, like where do you think your business would be? I know that some designers are a little bit more old school and they're like hesitant to adopt technology. Yeah. I want to really help designers. My word for 2019 is embrace. I'm very impatient and I'm like embracing the fact that I'm impatient. I'm going to learn how to do things better. How has it changed your business for the better? And would your business be where it was today if you had not embraced technology?
I know for a fact it would not, because I feel like it would just be through word of mouth. And I feel like that's a slower momentum versus getting your name out there through Instagram, website, house, whatever it may be. And then I think also just making your processes better, different programs that can help. Ivy, or I just signed up for Asana. I'm going to try that. So we'll see how that goes. But I think just different programs that can really help make your business run a lot better. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't think that I would be where I am without technology, to be honest with you.
Good. So the last takeaway that Lexi's giving us is designers, you have to embrace technology, not because I'm telling you, but because it's made a huge impact in your business. And I mean, you're killing it. You're crushing it right now, and you're continuing to grow. And it's because you've leveraged technology. So let me give you, we have 3 more questions. One question, how do you handle a very difficult client? Have you had to fire a client and how did you do it? Good question.
Oh, yeah. So I have had to fire a client. I think it's just a matter, luckily I have had really good clients. Like, I don't know what it is, but all my clients are so nice and I feel like are really easy to work. So I think it's a key of seeing red flags and then finding out what those red flags are and then maybe not taking on the client.
Mm-hmm.
But if you get to the point where you can't move forward, I think it's just a matter of being very open to talking to them about everything. And like I said, again, transparent. I think that's huge. And then, so one client I have had, we just, for whatever reason, it wasn't working out. And so I just finished the phase that we were working on, and then we just kind of went our separate ways. And so that's kind of how we dealt with it. I think it's just always being professional. And I think also always having a place of like, okay, well, what can I do to better that situation? Like, what did I do wrong? And some people are just difficult. And so sometimes it's nothing you could have done. But I think always seeing like, oh, you know what? It's because I wasn't transparent on the number of hours it would take or things like that, like different things that will help pivot that.
Yeah. And I think it's always a growing lesson too, you know, like you take what that is, and next time that you see the red flags, you won't take on that client.
Yeah.
I think designers do forget is that you're going to somebody's sacred space and eating it for them. So it's a lot to give. There's a lot of energy that you're giving. That's why a big takeaway for 2019 and for people, designers this year, I think should be learning to say no. Because even if you need the work, you know you need the pictures, trust your gut. It would take you, it's there for
I've had that before where I'm like, oh, it could be such a good project, but they're already like trying to get you to discount your fee or things like that. And I'm just like, it's not worth it. Like they're always going to fight you on it. And so I just ended up not taking that client on. And I think it's just trusting your gut. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. And last question for you. Do you have a specific process for new clients? What takes place between the initial phone call to beginning the project?
Yeah, so I always start my client, my process with a consultation, and I do charge for my consultation. I find that if they're not willing to pay for my consultation, then they're not going to want to pay for my design fees. So I really don't want a client that's like, oh, but can you do it for free? It's like, no, because I find that then there'll be that difficult client that, you know, checks on every bill you send and whatnot. So I think definitely always charging for a consultation. And then I actually will, if I feel like it's a good fit, I will go over my contract with my clients there during the consultation. And then a lot of them will sign right away. If not, I'll say, let me give you an estimate of hours prior to moving forward. And so that's kind of my process there. So initial phone call, consultation, and then I also have someone that does my client intakes, which has been huge. So I think if you guys don't do that, I highly recommend it, because I think that takes a lot of time, and like a phone call that should only take 10 minutes when they talk to me could take a half an hour because they're trying to get like information out of it, or where it's like, okay, let's just talk all about the project on site. So
that's a great lasting takeaway. So have an assistant do the first initial intake. It doesn't have to do with you. It's not a good use of your time. And think about it as negative dollars going out of your bank account.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Lexi, for joining us. If you guys want to learn more about Ivy, please stay tuned. I'm going to show you a little and talk a little bit more about some of the stuff that Lexi talked about today that has saved your time. And again, Lexi will be on a panel at 3 o'clock on Monday, January 28th at Vegas Market. Also, you have to come to our panel too. We have a lot to do in Vegas. It's Sunday, the 27th at 3 o'clock. And hopefully Lexi will be at our panel as well. Yes. You can say hi to us in person. I think I covered most everybody's questions. And again, thank you for all of the advice, all of the feedback. Lexi, feel better. And we'll talk to you.
Hopefully I made sense. Sorry if I was a little loopy.
No, you're great. Thank you so much, Lexi.
Thanks, Risa.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So thank you everyone for joining us. That was a lot of good information. I did see one question about the line in your contract about texting. I will see if I can get you something about the no texting clause, because I do think that that is such a huge takeaway from today's session. And I wanted to chat a little bit more about Ivy and just the things that Lexi covered today. So just so you know what Ivy is, it's a community and business management tool, and you should be able to see my screen right now. And I will just run you through a couple of the things that we talked about with Lexi. Leveraging technology is huge. I know it can seem daunting and overwhelming, but there's so many moving parts in the interior design process that it's almost beneficial at this point in your business, or even if you're just starting out, to have something like Ivy. Ivy allows you to track your time while you're on the go. We also have an Ivy app, so you can do this from your phone. You can select your different service, like Lexi said, she has different rates for different people. So maybe admin is $105, maybe the design rate is $175. You can easily set that up in Ivy, and you can track all of your time. Now, even if you don't bill out hourly, I still always recommend tracking your hours, and you could just mark it not billable right here, so that if you do get audited for any reason, you will have a running log of all of those hours you worked, and your client, you can just present your client with that. Ivy allows you to create branded professional invoices, no Excel or QuickBooks, which I think QuickBooks is amazing, and Ivy does integrate with QuickBooks, but you should not be working in QuickBooks. You should be working in Ivy, which is built for the designer. Very easy to select all of your uninvoiced time and generate a time billing invoice, and then send this out to your client. And you can easily ask your client for payment. So I can click Save and Send. You can ask your client for a credit card or bank transfer. Credit card, there is a 3% processing fee, and bank transfer, there's a 1.2% processing fee. You can charge your client the transaction fee. You can absorb it into your cost. You can do whatever you want. You send this out to your client. The client gets an invoice that looks like this, has your logo, has your branding. They can even see their client dashboard, so they can see all of the money that they've sent out to you, what has been unpaid. And then the money goes straight into your bank account in 2 to 3 business days. Actually, sometimes even faster than that. So it's pretty awesome because it literally saves you time. And what we talked about with Lexi today is saving time on things that aren't making you money. So if you have to drive to the bank, you have to park, you have to go into the bank, that could take 30 minutes. This you get paid automatically. The other thing that we talked about today is sourcing online. So very easy to do that with the Ivy Clipper. It's a little product clipper that nests on your browser, and you can even select multiple images here. If you want to, you can clip the item. I'm not copying and pasting anything. I'm just clipping the information directly from the vendor's website. You can add the cost. You can add a markup. So if it's $500 and you want to mark it up 50%, you can do that. Or you can say, okay, I want the target price to be $700. I can set the markup. So again, no math has to be done. I've easily imported all of my existing vendors and into my library. You can also manually add that in. So creating your proposal saves you so much time, which again, if you're not being efficient, you're paying people to do this for you. You want to maximize their time. You want to make it as efficient as possible. Lexi said she's been able to leverage Ivy training videos, and we also have dedicated account managers to help your assistants get up and running on Ivy pretty quickly. And then you can also add the full product details. Important to note that here, your client will see what your client should see. Your vendor will see what the vendor should see. So everything is really all in one place, which makes it very, very helpful and very, very useful to you. And then you can save this product, and it goes directly into your library. So I can go to my project right here, and I can create my proposal, and that item will automatically pop up. And I can also be building out my library. So if Lexi sees something on a Sunday afternoon because she's shopping online, she could just send it to her assistant and say, hey, can you add this to the Ivy product library? And then she knows when it comes time for sourcing that she already has the item in her library. She can tag it with something that says chairs. So then when she's sourcing, has all of the chairs that she's ever looked at right in her library, and she can easily add that to her proposal. So I can do the same thing here. I can see all of my products, and maybe I want to type in chair. And I can see all of the chairs that I've sourced in my library right here. Maybe I want to add these Milo chairs right here. Okay. You can also do this with custom services. So maybe you want to add freight, and I already have freight in here. I can just add that. You can add your own cute little icon, or you can leave it blank. And you can really build out your own custom proposal. Here is where Ivy gets very customizable for your firm. You can allow your client to see the markup percentage. If you want to be transparent, you can allow your client to approve per line item. So when they get this invoice or proposal, they can see all of the breakdown, all of the information, okay? So that's really helpful. And then from there, what you can do is you can also click this button that says View Tear Sheets, and Ivy will automatically create a presentation for you with all of the items that you want to present to your client. So that's also really helpful. And then you don't have to make your own specification sheets. Once you get this approved by your client, of course, you can add any attachments, like any 3D renderings or CAD drawings or anything like that. Then you can go ahead and create your purchase orders, send it directly to your vendor. Very crucial that you use POs so you can understand your client expenses, the money going out of your bank account that's yours, and the money that's going out of your bank account that's not yours, that's money that has to be paid to your vendors, that's coming from your clients. So you have the PO, you can plug in an estimated ship date there, and then Ivy also gives you a project schedule. So you can understand what's been done. You can assign it to different people on your team. And then this is what I love the most, is the project tracker that allows you to really see big picture. It's really the Bible, the heartbeat of your project. And you can see what's coming in, when it's coming in. You can add custom columns here as well. And you can also download an FF&E schedule. So for your receiving warehouse, they know everything that's coming with an image. When it's check-in day at your install, you can check things off your list and print it out. Ivy prints it out really, really beautifully. If you don't want your clients to see the vendor information, you can also hide that information in case there's a chance that your client would see. Up to you of how you want to present the information. Ivy allows you to upload your clients, your vendors. As I said, and as Lexi said, it's pretty intuitive, pretty user-friendly. I love the vendor portal because you can save all of your account usernames and passwords. You can even save vendor tags of like what your discount is. So everything's all in one place, so your assistants don't have to be asking you questions multiple times. Just go check in the Ivy account, everything's in there. And then you can also create your product library, as I was mentioning. So as many items as you want can be stored in your product library. And then of course, you can leverage Ivy to pull reports, several different types of reports: transactions, project payments, purchase orders, time billing, expenses, sales tax liability. But I do recommend, if you really want to understand high level profit and loss, that is where you would integrate your Ivy account with QuickBooks Online. The Plus version is what we recommend. And we, of course, have a lifetime special pricing partnership with QuickBooks. So if you want to learn more about that, feel free to shoot us over an email and we can set you up with your one-on-one Ivy consultation with one of our Ivy gurus who can kind of share in more depth what that looks like. If you're a new firm and you're just starting out and you just want to try Ivy, you can 100% use Ivy as a standalone software. You can always integrate QuickBooks later. And what Lexi was talking about earlier was actually in our Ivy Facebook group about people talking about bookkeepers. We've also created our curated network of service providers. So adding on to what we were talking about today, outsource, outsource, outsource. Can't say it enough. And yes, I just repeated myself 3 times because I want to get it in your brain that this is how you're going to make money. Outsourcing is key. You can have somebody create your 3D renderings. You can just pop in, send them a message. Usually, if you're an Ivy member, they'll give you a special discount. You can leverage purchasing agents, virtual design assistants. If you don't want to bring somebody on full time, you can hire somebody to do your renderings. I know she does renderings, so you could hire her to do your renderings for you. Again, say she charged $75 an hour, you could charge at your rate of $150. You're making a margin off of what you're outsourcing. So don't think of hiring somebody on or outsourcing as money going out. Think of it as actually money coming in, making time to do projects that you don't have time. That is how Lexi works a 3-day work week. We didn't hone on it too much, but I really want to stress that she works 3 days a week. And then the other 2 days, she has her team working remotely while they're getting things done. one and she's able to be with her kids. So it's possible. Bookkeepers, accountants you can find in here as well that know how to use Ivy, know how to use QuickBooks. Bookkeeping is another huge one that I would recommend from the get-go, really outsourcing, because this is where they really understand your finances, what's coming in, what's coming out. You're spending a little bit of money on the bookkeeping service, but it's gonna make you more money in turn. And leveraging our Ivy community, you would be able to do that through your Ivy group right here. And then you can access our training webinars, our industry webinars. We produce a lot of content. We have a lot of events happening, so you can click on that to see any of our recorded webinars that you possibly have missed. You can export any client inspiration packets or any contracts from any of our Ivy members that have shared them. Again, we're a community of sharing and inspiration, community over competition, and we really want to help you take your business to that next level. So that's what's great about everything that we talked about today, is those things are happening in our Facebook group. Those things are happening at our community events. If you're anywhere in Chicago or Vegas or Palm Springs or Vegas, because I'll be to all those three places, and I said Vegas twice because I will be there twice, please let us know. I would love to meet you in person. Hope to see you next week in Vegas at Las Vegas Market or Palm Springs for Modernism. And 100%, if you have any questions for me, I'll shoot in my email. It's Reisa, R-E-I-S-A @ivy.co. You can also click the green button right here to get your free Ivy consultation if you want us to understand and learn a little bit more about your business, to see if Ivy would be a good fit, or just to learn a little bit more about what Ivy is and how we can help you. So thank you again for joining us. If you have any questions, shoot me over an email. Again, I'll try to get you a clause about the texting clause for your contract, because I think that's a big one. And I hope that you have written down your goals for 2019. So we will see you next time. Thank you again, and we'll see you soon. Bye.